Welcome to the final lecture in our course, Local, Global, Local, or LGL for short. In this course, we sought to discuss the ways that a situated agent within a group can exercise agency within that group that then comes back and shapes who the agent is and how they are. And finally, I want to talk about starting a new idea, because any agent in any group can try or can succeed at starting a new idea to influence the behavior of the group. The example we're going to be working with today is spreading the gospel. Christians, Great Commission, we are called to spread the gospel to every tribe, tongue, and nation. And I want to offer some reflections on my limited experience in the time I have been a Christian with this practice. First, I want to touch on Scripture, the book of Acts, the story of the early church. The only point I want to land is, who was the church? In the book of Acts, who was the church? It wasn't just the guys on top. It wasn't just the disciples. It wasn't just Paul. The church was everybody, every individual in that body working together to start this new idea in Rome and beyond. And we, of course, as we spread the gospel, are continuing in this tradition that started then. So when it comes to spreading the gospel, I think that there are three principles at play that are good to keep in mind. The first one is going to be proximity. How close you are to the person you're trying to spread the gospel to. And I see how there can be some disagreement here. Spreading the gospel seeds all over the place. The ones that grow are the ones that were in the right soil. I understand that method. I understand someone you've never met or never talked with before going up to them and sharing the love of Christ. But I also see strategically that someone might be much more receptive to a message if they know who you are, if they like who you are, if they trust you. Because if we're talking about fundamentally a materialist person, the gospel, the truth of God, the truth of the Bible, is in their philosophical minds an impossibility. So who would be more qualified to convince someone of an impossibility? A stranger or their close friend? A stranger or a close family member? A stranger or a romantic partner? And next, I want to talk about spontaneity. Because we've outlined this setting where you want to be very strategic and coordinated and well-timed when you're delivering this message. However, there is ample room, and in a story I will tell you, I will show that opportunities to spread the gospel are everywhere. And you're not going to know that it is a great time to do so until suddenly that time arrives. And then finally, I want to talk about witness. If you are a Christian, you are bearing witness. You are bearing witness to your friends. You're bearing witness to your coworkers. You're bearing witness to your family. Anyone who knows you, who knows that you are a Christian, you are bearing witness to. And witness doesn't necessarily require that you preach the gospel or you give really articulate apologetics arguments or you testify about what God has done in your life. Witness is as simple as just being there and being Christian. So now like I said, in my limited experience, I want to walk you through my experience, my perspective with using all of these methods. So firstly, I want to talk about proximity. I have a family member who is very resistant to God, very resistant to Christ in particular, and I'm standing here, a family member. We're very intricately connected to each other, and I find that the topic comes up. Sometimes I bring it up, sometimes he brings it up, but the topic comes up. And we have discussions, pastoral discussions, theological discussions, apologetics discussions, that I hate to say most of the time aren't too productive on his end, but nonetheless, me being a family member is a resolute standard for him to inquire to or to crash against. That is based off of our proximity. Because if anybody, any random person came and tried to preach the same message or make the same arguments or ask the same questions, my guess is their efforts may very well fall on deaf ears. My efforts, however, bolstered by our proximity, are at the very least, topics of conversation. So now I want to talk about spontaneity, and I'm going to tell a story from early on in my walk as a Christian. So one day, I was at the cigar club. This had to have been a year ago. It was a Friday. And I walk into the club, and I see my pastor, my Christian friend, and some unknown third guy all sitting at a table. And they invited me to join them. So you got to figure I'm weighing the situation. Okay, we got the pastor here, the Christian friend, somebody else. Now I'm coming into the mix. This is obviously a ministry experience. There is a soul on the line in this very conversation I'm about to join. What I didn't know is that that wasn't the situation at all. It was pretty much just a gathering of friends. But unbeknownst to me, right, I joined the party, and all of a sudden it is time to spread the gospel. So I end up testifying, the other guys end up testifying, and we ended up getting into this great conversation about God for probably 2 or 3 hours. That was totally unplanned. Think about the spontaneity of that event. These 3 guys are just going to have a cigar, have a conversation. And unexpectedly, now we are talking about God. I guarantee you, Christians in the audience, that as you go about your day, as you meet with your friends, your family, your online communities, there are going to be similar opportunities for the gospel really just to come out of nowhere. And those might be some of the most fruitful opportunities for grace to do its work through you. And then finally, witness. Up until very recently, I had a secular job that I really didn't like. I liked it at first, but as I spent more time there, I was incredibly dissatisfied with my line of work. Now, I had a friend, we would get lunch together, we would go on breaks together, and all it was one of those normal work kind of palling around friendships. But she knew that I was a Christian, and this was around the time I had started this channel, so it was often a topic of conversation. We'd be talking, and I'd be working on a theory or a lecture or coming up with a series or writing a curriculum or this, that, or the other thing. And I wasn't preaching to her. I did very, very little actually preaching to her in that period of time. Because the setting wasn't right. She really didn't seem interested. So I left that job 2 or 3 months ago, and we've fallen out of contact. But from a witness perspective, for the rest of her life, she is going to have to live with the fact that she casually was friends with a Christian for that year that we knew each other. Spreading the gospel. Great Commission. We're called to do it. I hope I have given you a lens, some techniques to think about doing this in your own life. And I hope I've left you with the confidence that your next opportunity to really change someone's heart, to really change someone's life, to help grace, might just be right around the corner. Maybe it's even something that you could do tomorrow. Thank you, and God bless.